Hey everybody, folks over at Wasserstein has sent me this sous vide cooker to do an honest review on, and they have also sent me these sous vide balls to try out. And look, before we get started, let's just talk a little bit about sous vide. Sous vide is one of those cooking methods that's kind of become modern. In fact, there's a book out called Modernist Cuisine where some guys are doing all kinds of stuff. They're really pushing the boundaries of what you can do with cooking, but they're using very expensive equipment in restaurants, and this is not expensive. This is very reasonably priced. Some of my earlier sous vide machines that I bought were a lot more expensive than this, but now this is becoming very affordable. Now the question is, should you cook sous vide? That really is up to you. What I'm cooking today is I'm doing some nice thick pork chops, and everybody has qualms about eating pork, which is rightfully so, because if it's not properly cooked, you can actually get diseases, and from this you can get parasite infections and these kinds of things. That's a real concern. So how do you cook a pork chop all the way through, or a chicken breast? How do you cook those all the way through without drying them out? Well, if you cook them in the sous vide in a vacuum bag in the water, you can cook them to the exact temperature you want to cook them to without drying them out. And I'm going to tell you, chicken cooked this way is incredible. Steaks, I love steaks cooked sous vide. I mean, I can do a fine job on the grill. Just doing a steak sous vide takes the guesswork out of it. So anyway, let's get started on the review portion. We're going to cook the pork chop, and then we're going to be talking specifically about this sous vide cooker and these balls. Now, I'm not using the balls today. And the reason I'm not using the balls today for what I'm cooking is my pot is not that big and I'm not doing a long cook. These things are great when you're doing a long cook. Let's say you're doing 36-hour oxtails or something like that. If you put the sous vide, if you leave the sous vide cooker on at night, the water level in your pot can go down. You can actually burn up your machine. You can go down to minimum level. If you have these, this reduces the evaporation that's going on. And these work really good. I've used these a couple of times, these exact balls. They're really great. And they come in this bag. When you get done, you put them in here, you hang them out on the patio or something, they dry out. They're ready for next time. So anyway, let's get started cooking our pork chops. So here's our pork chops. They're nice and thick. They're like one bone. Now these are gonna cook for about 1 hour. I'm gonna hit them pretty good with some garlic, granulated garlic powder, a little bit of salt. And because I'm putting these in the vacuum bag, I'm only going to season them on one side. You can season both sides if you want to, but it really doesn't matter. The seasoning will spread around. Now these are going to go for 1 hour once I get up to temperature. Now if I was doing the double cut, because they're that much thicker, I would need to cook them for about 4 hours. But sous vide method doesn't really matter. They'll be evenly cooked all the way through. Anyway, let's get set up and get our pot going. I have a pot of water here. Now you're better off to use a tall pot than a short pot, because what will happen is you have this minimum water level and there's a maximum water level. If your pot's not high enough, then you're not going to have enough head for the pump and all this good stuff. Now by the way, if you take, this will come off, and this is your pump. And in this, you can point this in a direction that works good for whatever you're cooking that day. I want it like that. Put it down in here. It's got a clamp. It's nice and sturdy. Let me turn the camera up just a little bit. Now the first thing that I noticed, this has got a pretty short cord. I would actually like for the cord to be about twice the length. That would give you a lot more flexibility. Like here, over by my stove, if I have it in a pot it's sitting on top of the stove, I can actually reach a plug in. But here on the counter, I can't. I have to plug into a power strip, which I'm gonna go ahead and do. So now this thing, it's ready. So we're gonna turn it on. Now it's set for Celsius right now. And it's got a set point in it. It's already stirring, it's agitating the water. All right, so basically it's at 131 degrees. Safe temperature for pork is 145 F, and that's what I'm cooking to today. There we go. So now the set point is 145 degrees F. The water's agitating. It's coming up the temperature. It's actually at 77 degrees F at the moment. Now I have my pork chops, I vacuum seal them. You don't necessarily have to use a vacuum sealer. You can use the other bags. You can use what they call the displacement method, where you put them in the bag, you put them in the water, and you zip them. By using the vacuum sealer, they tend not to want to float up as much. I find that when I use the displacement method, they want to float, and then I have to use something to weight them down more often. But even with the vacuum sealer, sometimes I still have to weight them down. So anyway, you can wait until they come up the temperature, or you can just go ahead and drop them in. I'm going to go ahead and drop them in. See, these things are wanting to float a little bit today. For my floating pork chops, my high-tech method, I'm just taking something. In this case, I'm using a garlic press, and we're just going to set this up to hold them down. After 1 hour of cooking, and I've been patting these dry, this is what they look like. Now I'm going to be honest, these are ugly. I mean, they have been cooked to 145 degrees. They are fully cooked. They are safe to eat. They're just not very appetizing, and they don't have that crust that we all look for in our cooked meat. So we're going to have to sear these off. The best tool that I know for searing meat is a cast iron pan. I've got this thing heating up. I'm going to put some oil in here. And when that gets hot, I'll get back with you. So I'm pretty sure our pan's hot now. We're going to put our chops in there. Probably could have got that just a little bit hotter first. Now remember, we're not cooking the pork chops. All we're doing is putting a crust on them. So you want to do this at a high temperature. That way you're doing it nice and quick. We're getting some good color there. Turn this around. Same here. Turn this bad boy around. And you could do just one side, that one for presentation, but I'm going to do both sides. Now doesn't that look better? So let's see how our chop looks on the inside. You can see that's moist. It's cooked all the way through. But it's very moist. There's nothing dry at all about this chop. Okay, so the sous vide cooker, it does cook. Now, there's going to be all kinds of links below if you're interested in finding out more information about the sous vide cooker or the sous vide balls. Pros and cons. Cons, I think the cord's a little short. The temperature indicator, the little thing that tells you what the temperature is, it seems to only indicate in 2-degree increments. It goes to like 153, 155, 157, but there's no 156. I think the indicator should be down to the decimal point, at least half a degree. The cord's a little short, but it does seem to maintain temperature pretty well when it's up and running. Although maybe not quite as precise as I want, but it is. But I am using it in a pretty small pot. In a bigger pot, I'm sure the temperature control is real good. So it's not really an issue there. The sous vide balls, like I said, I mean, they work as advertised. They do what they're supposed to do. I mean, there's nothing special there. Price on this thing is really good. I mean, it's hard. It's going to be hard to beat this thing for the price, unless you're very particular and you want that absolute precise control. Then you're going to have to step up into something that's a lot more expensive. Anyway, guys, I'm going to enjoy my pork chop, and I hope you guys liked the video. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Anyway, see you next time.